Outlook Podcast. We're here with the Outlook Podcast. Just we're here. We're talking to cool people.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today, I have YouTube personality, an absolute just social media legend, Josh Kreuger, on here. How you doing, Josh?
What's up, dude? What an intro. Thank you so much. I'm chilling, bro. How are you?
Good, man. I'm super excited to have you on here because I was kind of looking through some of your
Thank
stuff
you.
before I jumped into this because I was like, I know that you've been getting so many views from people outside of scootering, which is super unique, honestly, because
Yeah.
a lot
Thank
of
you.
I feel like it's a lot of core stuff in scootering. Lots of people are like, oh, I got to be cool with like the core people, but like that's not bringing new people
Yeah.
in. And your content seems to be doing a
Yeah.
great job at that. So like,
Dude, thank you.
yeah,
That's the goal. That's what I'm trying to do, grow the sport, really.
yeah, absolutely. So what do you kind of like, first off, how did you start your YouTube channel? Where are you from? Like
Oh, man.
your kind of bio.
So, yeah, dude, I was doing YouTube before I scootered. So I started, I mean, I was like, so I'm 20 right now.
Right.
In 2014, I was uploading YouTube videos. So I was 10. And I was just making like, whatever stupid videos like a 10-year-old would make. So I actually started YouTube in 2014. I started scootering in 2016. So like I've been making just random videos for so long. I've always been fascinated by just being like the whole entire process of just creating like a video, and that fact that like people can watch it online always was fascinating to me. I always thought it was cool. Never really considered it as like a career path until only like the past few years. But yeah, like I would upload random videos like Minecraft, like Let's Plays, and like random like skits with my friends. But I was like, I was like 10 years old. So it was like a 10-year-old's content. And then like 2 years later, I started scootering. And I never really put like social media and scootering together, at least at the time. And then I started scootering, and then like I would like upload Instagram edits and just make random content of me learning new tricks, like, but not like on purpose, like, oh, I'm making content. I'm just like uploading my clips or uploading my edits just like everybody else did. Um, and then in 2020, late 2020, I uploaded a few videos, like one per week, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna start uploading weekly scootering videos. And before that, I did some scootering videos, like I had a couple games of Scoot, like top 5 intermediate scooter tricks, and then like stuff like that. And then in late October of 2020, I started uploading like weekly scootering videos, which turned into weekly vlogs, and I did weekly skate park scootering vlogs for like almost 2 years, like a year and a half. And so like those never really picked up a lot of traction. Like each one would get 1 to 300 views, which is like, it's decent. Like people enjoyed it. Like people in my local area definitely watched it, which was really cool. Um, and then like still at this time, I never really considered it as like a career path. And so that was like I was 17 when I started doing that. And then it comes around to like now it's like senior year of high school, and I'm like still uploading these vlogs, and I am trying to decide where to go with my career, and I don't really know what to do. And then I'm just like, at one point I'm just like, screw it. I had like 800 subscribers, and I was like, February of my senior year, like around the time you really need to like lock in and figure out what you're supposed to do. And I was just like, screw it, bro. I'm just gonna try this YouTube thing, try this social media thing. And like at the time I also was like considering other avenues in YouTube. So like I uploaded a lot of random other kinds of videos, which you'll see on my channel. Also, like all these vlogs I used to make, um, they're still up. So like it's pretty cool. Sometimes I go back and watch my old videos. I'm like, dude, that was such a good time. Yeah. And then like at that time I became really fascinated with social media and YouTube, and I decided to like take YouTube seriously and pursue YouTube and less scootering content. And then I joined this like course slash like community thing called Creator Now,
Mhm.
and that was like opened my eyes to the creator world and like how YouTube works and how people make a living off of it and things like that. And that's when I started uploading completely different content. Like I would call it like a lot of people are like oh, it's like Mr. Beastie kind of content in a way. So I started doing that. I'm trying to make this really, really fast because there's like a lot of details. But
No, you're
I
doing a
started
great
doing
job. Keep
that.
going. Keep going.
Thank you. Yeah, so I started doing that. This was like August of 2022, which would have been my freshman year of college that I didn't go to do. So I quit my job. I tried to do YouTube, and I still had like, I don't know, 1,500 subscribers. Like, I was kind of like delusional in a way. Like, some people would call that delusional, but like, it kind of takes a little bit of delusion to like take something like this full time and just have
Mhm.
blind faith that it's going to work. But anyway, yeah, I started learning about YouTube and stuff, and I started making like kind of Mr. Beastie kind of content. Um, and I did that for about a year actually, and then in July of last year, I am still doing YouTube full time. I had some traction, um, and then I uploaded a video about how I went to Venice Beach Skate Park on my
Mhm.
scooter to YouTube. Well, it was a short, but I uploaded that, and that just went crazy. Like that is my most viewed video by like 5x. It's insane. And from that at that point I was like, holy crap, like for a little bit I thought that people didn't really want to watch scootering content. I was like, I'm not getting views. Like I tried it for 2 years. I was like, oh yeah, I already tried scootering content. It's not working. I'll try this other stuff. And then that went crazy and I'm like, wait, like people enjoy this and it's about scootering. Like, why don't I give this a shot again?
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, I don't know why it's going in and out of focus. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're
Hopefully it's
good.
not too bad. But I told my friend today, it was kind of like studying abroad. Like I was doing scootering stuff, and then for like a year, I like took a break
Yeah.
and just studied just like YouTube, like heavily studied YouTube, social media, what works, how can you turn this into your career, that kind of thing. And then, like it's almost like I came back to scootering full circle and was like, all right, now let me take all of this knowledge that I like learned for a year and all of these people that I met and all of these things that I did and just apply it to scootering, and I did that and it just went crazy. And since then I've been doing the same thing, just like applying like the current YouTube like meta, I guess, to
Yeah.
scootering with the goal of like obviously like I want to be successful too, but like in I'm also very motivated by the fact that like scootering is relatively compared to a lot of things, it's a small sport, and like we need eyeballs, we need people coming into this sport, we need new people buying scooters. Like we have such a cool community, such a cool sport, and more people would enjoy it if they just knew that it existed. And so that's kind of part of my mission into making this content is like, dude, this focusing thing is so annoying. Oh my gosh. Sorry. That's sort of my mission here is like we can grow this sport. Like, I mean, we all saw a resurgence in 2016 to like 2019 with Tanner Fox, Funk Bros,
Yep.
like Jacked Out, all these people just pushing out these vlogs, bro. And like people were coming in, scootering was growing. And then like social media changed and probably a lot of other reasons why scootering kind of didn't grow as fast for a little bit there. But that's what I'm trying to do, bro. Like
Right.
not only do I have personal motivation to like be successful and chase my dreams, but like this is like we could totally make scootering bigger than it's ever been. So I'll leave it at that because you probably have a lot of questions
Yeah.
now. But
I'm.
that's like my story. That's how I got
No,
here.
that's fantastic. And where are you from originally?
So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, St. Louis. Let me put you on a St. Dude, this focus. Come on, dude. Come on, stay focused. Let's go. Oh my gosh. Okay. No, St. Louis, bro. Great. I just want to say this. St. Louis, great city.
Yeah.
Love St. Louis. Everybody there is great. There's kind of like a slept on scootering scene there.
That's what
We
I've
just started having
seen.
street jams. Yeah, dude. We just started having street jams. Shout out to Van and the whole crew, the whole like street scene in St. Louis. They started doing street jams, and St. Louis is a great place. If you ever need a place to go in the Midwest and you're looking for some decent to slightly above average parks and a bunch of cool people, go to St. Louis.
Yeah, I've been to St. Louis once. I went there for a Taylor Swift concert, so that's the only reason I've been
Oh,
to,
sick.
to
Did you
St.
ride or no?
Louis. But
Did you ride?
I did not ride. It was.
Oh man,
I don't
you
even know
gotta
if I
go
had my
and
scooter
ride,
with
bro.
me. We weren't there for long, but either way,
Heck yeah. Well, if anybody watching this is like within 4 to 5 hours or even like 6 hours of St. Louis. The street gems are in October. Go look it up, go find it, and go. Like
Yeah.
last year we had like 150 people, which is like really good for St. Louis. Like we have a small scene. So anyway.
Yeah, that'd be cool to go to. I notoriously bad at missing street jams. I always have something else planned before. I don't know why that's how it is, but like I lived right
Yeah.
next to Denver for a long time and I only made it to like one or two of
Yeah.
their street jams. So
Are those good?
yeah, those
Were
are
they
good.
good street jams?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
fire?
it's
I
nice.
guess I mean, a street gem can't really be bad, bro. Like it's
Yeah.
always good.
Well, I lived in Wyoming for a couple of years, so I really got into
Okay.
like I was just above the border of Colorado, so I was down in Colorado all the time
Yeah.
going to parks because the parks down there are nuts.
Arvada, you've been to Arvada?
Oh, it's almost my local at this
Dude.
point with how much I went down there. Yeah.
Dude, I went to my brother lives in Denver, so I'm in Denver sometimes, and I went to Arvada like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Dude, that park is crazy good. Like
Oh.
that is a nice. It's huge.
It's huge. It's perfect
big, bro.
transitions. Team Payne did a absolutely magnificent job with
It was Team Payne.
Yeah, it was Team
Okay.
Payne. Yeah, definitely one of their better parks that I've ever been to. Well, might be their best. I don't know, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
so
sure.
started with Minecraft and whatever content. I did as well. I had a channel called Butter Boss. That was my first YouTube channel. But I did
Is it still public?
I can't find it. I don't think I shut it off.
Oh,
I just don't know where it is. But
Dude,
I was
that's
in
cool though. Same origin.
Yeah, I was in YouTube really early because I did like 2014 to 20 something, 2018, 19, 20 in there. I kind of fell off,
Yeah.
like stopped recording and making videos as much. Just started focusing more on like short form content because that's where I thought everything was going. But
Mm-hmm.
I saw a big shift because I got a ton of followers and views and stuff for like being 16 at the time on like basically Instagram edits, right? So it was like
Like
short
what
form
kind?
content, like 2 minutes.
Okay, that's freaking sick.
So-
So wait. So when was this? Like what year?
This was probably like 15 and 16.
So you were making like scootering edits,
Like
or
edits.
just like
Yeah, like
just,
and some
Okay.
some vlogs, but mostly just edits, and ended up getting like 7,500 subscribers, and like it did pretty
heck
good.
yeah, dude.
But what
Yeah.
happened was the algorithm switched from views to watch time, and
Yeah.
that crushed me. So that
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then
that'll do it.
like all the vlogs and like Tanner Fox blew up and all that stuff, but I didn't really like filming vlogs as much, so I didn't do that as much, and
Mhm.
I just it just fell off. But like I'm really curious as far as like what did you learn when you went away from scootering and you were just focused on content? Like what is your main takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, what I learned was that social media and really YouTube is like at this point it's at a stage where it's a science. Like it is like a strategic science, and like 90% of the people that are successful on YouTube are successful on purpose, not by luck, and that it takes like actual effort to produce content and think about how your audience is going to perceive that content and think about how to grow that audience. So like I don't know, 10 years ago it was just like people uploading whatever they, whatever.
Right.
And like there was probably for the bigger YouTubers there was probably some strategy, some science behind it, but now people call it the Mr. Beastification of YouTube. Everybody's heard that before.
Yep.
But it's less sorry. It's less like Mr. Beast and more just like YouTube is evolving, and like it takes like strategy. I don't know, I'm gonna repeat it again, but like it takes strategy and thought to get people to care about content. And that's kind of what's happening right now is like, yes, some of Mr. Beastification is like people might perceive it as like bad for YouTube because of like attention spans or whatever else. But essentially like what I learned, oh my gosh, there's like so many things.
Well, what I've seen
But-
is like what Mr. Beast does as far as following thumbnails, how much he spends on thumbnails, like switching up thumbnails, attention grabbing, and just approaching it like a business. It used to be approached as like, I'm going to
Yeah.
upload my videos on here and it's going to be cool and
Like
my
a
friends will
passion.
see it. And now it's like, I'm going to take this and attack it like a TV show. and have that kind of
Yeah.
budget and that kind of thought into it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take out a small business loan and I'm going to spend $10,000 on one video, and either it works or it doesn't.
Yeah. It's the bar of content is getting higher or is getting like harder and harder to reach. Also, my camera battery is going to die. I need to throw a new one in there real quick. I'm so sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Give me
I totally understand that.
1 second. I'm having like camera issues. Like, oh my gosh. Here.
What camera do you use?
The webcam I have right now is a G7X.
Oh, okay.
But like the batteries don't last a long time.
Right.
And for some reason the autofocus is like horrible when I'm using it as a webcam.
Really?
It looks good when it looks good, but when it messes up, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if that goes. Oh, shoot.
What do you usually film on?
There we go. I have a Canon. Where is it? Well, I don't have it with me, but it's a Canon R50. So it's like an M50,
Okay.
but it's like the predecessor of the M50 Mark II. So
Gotcha.
it's basically the same thing. I'm trying to upgrade soon. But
What'd you
yeah, I have the
spend on it?
G7X. The body is like 700, and then the kit lens, which is not good,
Yeah.
is like an extra 150. So like total, it was like 900. And then I got a used 10 to 18 millimeter lens on Facebook Market for like 150. So like total is like $1,100. But I'm gonna upgrade soon. I'm looking at the Lumix S5 Mark II.
Yeah.
Or just the Sony A7 III, A7 IV, which is gonna suck to buy, but it's gonna be so cool.
Yeah,
to use.
that's
so good.
I think I'm gonna try to go for an FX3. I think next is what I want.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know who is gonna like buy that for me, but
yeah. I mean, hey
I
man,
ain't buying it.
there's always
No.
debt. You know, there's always debt.
Yeah.
There's credit.
Well, I do a lot of car edits for some of my friends that own a
Okay.
performance shop, so I'm trying to convince them to like help me out with some of the photography and cinematography
Yeah,
stuff.
dude. Just be like, hey man, I'll get you 5 free edits. if you
Does the
give me half
Lumix
this
have
camera,
sensor
right?
stabilization?
Dude, honestly, I don't know. I don't. The reason why I like the Lumix is because it shoots in 6K, and so I could crop it into vertical. So it's like 4K tall.
Oh,
So if I have a
right.
long form and I capture something long form and I want to turn it into vertical, it's 4K tall. So then I can crop into a 4K short from a long form and still crop in 2x from that to FHD. But like, it's not even that big of a.
File.
It's not even like I won't even use that much.
Yeah.
However, it's like 2,000 for the body, which if we're comparing it to what it does compared to like a A7 Sony A7 III, A7 IV, A7S III, that kind of, or like an FX3, it's very comparable, but way cheaper. So I don't know. I don't know enough about cameras to like speak on that.
So yeah, so I have a Blackmagic, the 4K, and my buddy has a 6K.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them don't have sensor stabilization, and you can throw it on a gimbal and it's still bouncy.
Huh.
So I would look into that
Interesting.
just
Okay.
because.
I guess it depends on like what you're wanting to shoot.
Yeah, well, for me, it's like if I'm handholding anything, like I basically have to have the camera tripoded. So that's why I wanted like an FX3 or a
That
Sony
sucks.
something, so then I can
Yeah.
run and gun with it, which is all that I do anyway. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I would be all run and gun. I'd barely be any tripod anyway.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's only electronic image stabilization, but it applies a 1.4x crop, which definitely sucks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it's 6K with no crop, which is crazy.
That is nice.
Like that's like the A7 IV. I don't even think has 6K, and it's like $3,500, $4,000.
Yeah.
So it's like half the price. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's bit rate and stuff too, but no, I've been looking
Yeah.
into that stuff as well. But what is your process for making your videos, and how much do you script?
Yeah, so the process is realistically like most of my time is spent like strategizing, coming up with good concepts, and coming up with like the story of that video. And like it depends. Realistically, I don't script like scripting as far as like planning ahead of time. I never like script the story. Like if it's like, hey, we're gonna take a $1 scooter to the skate park and see if it like breaks. I'm not going to script the fact that it survives or breaks, because like that is the whole goal of the video. Or like if it's like, hey, we're going to go to Venice Beach skate park on scooters and see if we can ride, I'm not going to script the fact that they kicked us out or anything like
Yeah.
that. However, what I do script is like, okay, here's the story and here's why somebody's going to watch to the end. So it's like, okay, $1 scooter versus skate park, and then the reason why they're watching to the end is like the, whether it breaks or not, whether it survives, but the different storylines is not going to be scripted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like if we go to like Venice Beach skate park and we have a video, it's like, okay, I know that I have to have some sort of concept ready to go and some sort of like, why is somebody watching to the end, which is like, okay, are we going to get kicked out or are we going to become friends with these people because they don't care? We don't know, but I'm not going to like script that part, but I will know that there's a reason why they're watching to the end. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, you have to have like at least a plan. Like what is your you
Yeah.
say are you doing one video a week then? Is that what you said?
Honestly, dude, I don't even have a schedule. I've been moving and pretty busy, but I'm also like procrastinating too much. So I don't even really have a schedule, but I'm trying to do right now, starting like literally this week, weekly shorts, and then like 2, 3 TikToks, 2, 3 reels a week, and then I am gonna be getting into long form very soon. I just got done filming one, but I'm trying to figure out like what direction to take for YouTube long form. I'm not fully sure yet.
Right.
And then I'm trying to do just like skate park vlogs, just like it was 7 years ago, but like on a second channel, and see if anybody like wants to watch that also, because I enjoy making those a lot. So we'll
Right.
see, but that's currently the goal like timeline at least.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm because I know that there's a lot of like planning that goes into a lot of these, but
Mhm.
who are you kind of thinking about when you do those plans? Like what target audience do you look at?
Yeah, realistically, like I said at the beginning, my goal is to like get new eyeballs on the sport. So when you think about it in that sense, I can't make extremely niche content.
Yeah.
So the target audience is oftentimes people that don't have any clue about scootering or skate parks or skateboarding or anything like that. So like that changes the way I word things. You'll
Mhm.
often notice like in my shorts, like I won't say the second trick was a bri flip. I'll just be like trick number 2, because nobody knows what a bri flip is. Nobody knows what a double finger rip to bar is. I just say like a slightly harder trick so that it's understandable to like a wider audience.
Right.
So like that's kind of what I keep in mind when making my content. Now it's still enjoyable for people that like are only niche scooter content, but it's oftentimes like younger people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think that that's awesome. And I think that there's a big hole in scootering in general where people are like, oh, I don't want to be cringe, which I find interesting since we
Yeah.
are scooter riders.
Yeah.
But at the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Yeah.
it's like we need to make that content for people. Like you won't even say tail whip. You'll just be like this trick where the scooter spins around. And I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's onto something. Like I was talking
Yeah. Thank
to
you.
Ryan Arell
Yeah.
in like one of the last podcasts, and
Hmm.
I was telling him that I was like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get Josh on, and like he does it this way, and I've been watching like how he doesn't like be really niche about it, and it's
Hmm.
really refreshing because it's a lot of times what I watch
Really
when
cool that you noticed that. Like, because I do that. Everything I do is like calculated and purposeful. So
yeah.
it's really cool that you noticed that.
Who do you kind of like look up to and base your content on?
Honestly, I don't. I can't even think of somebody,
Right.
because nobody's doing what I'm trying to do. So like, I mean, in the scootering side of things, I mean, I look at like old concepts that performed well. So like if we're talking about like age-old concepts that go viral outside of the sport of scootering, I'll just look at like other concepts, like for example, like classic like $1 scooter versus skate park. Everybody's done that. Everybody has found views through it. So like if you're talking about like in scootering, I would say just like the age old people, Corey Funk, Capron Funk, Tanner Fox, Claudius, all these people that have pioneered in Scooter Brad, all these people that have pioneered social media for scootering
Right.
back in the old era. for like necessarily concepts, but actual like video structure and storytelling and thumbnails and things like that. It's more new age stuff. So like, I mean, I don't take inspiration from anybody specifically, but the people who are leading are people like Eric, Mr. Beast, Ryan Trahan, and I don't take like direct inspiration from those people, but they're leading the force and like what is new in the YouTube meta.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like to answer the question like simply, there's no specific person that I look at like there's no specific person that I take inspiration from because I haven't found somebody who's doing what I'm trying to do. And that
Yeah.
makes it hard too. That makes it really hard. Like it's much easier to go do social media and just do what everybody else did. And there's now people doing that. Like
Well, that's kind of what
I
I was
see
going to ask next.
people.
I'm like, how much are you trying to be original and how much are you just like trying to come up with your own unique stuff?
Yeah, like I try to be original in everything I do. Like whenever I'm editing, I don't go look at somebody else's video and then come back and be like, "Oh, I should make this cut because this person made this cut. I should say this word because this person said this word."
Hmm.
Like realistically, inspiration comes from like concepts and but it's like inspiration. It's not like I have honestly seen people literally take my video word for word and I'm like, "Hey, you do you, bro." Like whatever, but I'm trying to like pave a path right now for myself and create unique stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well,
it's up,
it's
it's up to the
almost a weird
person.
form of flattery at that point. You're like, it's good
Exactly,
enough that they're like taking it.
exactly, and like the way I think about it is like nobody's gonna beat me at my own game.
No.
Like if they're like like people could totally enter this niche and do similar stuff to me. That's fine. I love seeing people make content in scootering, even if it's the same as mine. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
Like we need this content. But um yeah, like it's like nobody's gonna be able to take my stuff word for word and do better than me. Like that's copying. There's a difference between like inspiration and copying.
Oh yeah.
Like Ryan, I love Ryan, bro.
Yeah.
Ryan texted me the other day. He's like, dude, check out this video. I took inspiration from you and I like, I did this and that because you did it. And I did it myself in my own way. And I was like, that's freaking cool, bro. And then, but then like some people just copy it, which is okay. Like, whatever. Like I can't stop them. But
No.
yeah.
Yeah, that's always been kind of the name of the game though when it comes to YouTube and whatnot. Where do you
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see where you think it's going, the YouTube meta and just social media in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible to tell, but if I had to guess, it would be just like okay, so right now we see like heavily retention based content, scroll content, like low attention span content. I think it's going to slightly move away from that and like get more back to like personality based and relationship based, but like not like it was 7 years ago. It's so hard to describe. I have no
Yeah.
idea, but I also think that there's the other side of YouTube and social media that's like everything is just going to get more and more and more produced and it's just going to become like an actual like industry kind of like TV did, whatever
Yeah.
however many years
Well, I
ago.
can't see
Um
Mr. Beast's kind of stuff getting less produced. But I think there's a big
yeah, I mean
niche for that, for
it's
less produced content.
yeah, and like realistically nobody's like Mr. Beast is at the top of the game 24/7. He has the most staff, he has the most money, he has the most like eyes on everything. And
Yes.
so like his content has changed. If you watched a video of his from 5 years ago and then watched one of his new videos, it will change. The concept might not look like it changed, but like he spends more time being personal with the camera. He spends less time yelling at the camera. He spends
Yeah.
more time on people's personalities and relationships in the videos. And so that is kind of like a gauge on where YouTube is going. And so that's why I say what I say. But realistically, there's no way of telling. And at the end of the day, the best thing that you can do is just innovate and be authentic to yourself and just try new things. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would have always like wondered where it's going, and I've had some that are right, and like I think people are getting tired of short form. I think people are getting tired
for
of
sure.
just constantly being bombarded. Personally, I
Yep.
just feel like all my time's being stolen by these by short form
Yeah.
content. Like staying like
Yeah.
focused on things is so hard because like it's so easy to be like,
For
oh, I
sure.
need to go look for inspiration, and then you're like 3 hours later, you're just scrolling bullshit.
Yep.
So
Yeah. That I mean, yeah, and it has something to do with like the user. So like obviously like you're not gonna get content like you're only gonna get content that like the algorithm thinks is right for you.
right,
Um, but also like yes, it's very like the meta today is like very it's kind of like manipulating in a way. Like I definitely feel what you're saying. Like when I watch something and I get nothing from it, and it was just like pure like brain rot or whatever.
yeah,
It's like, why is this doing well? But at the end of the day, like here, let me move my camera slightly. Maybe this will help the focus. I don't know if that will help. Okay, that might help. But at the end of the day, like these platforms measure people like these platforms push videos that do well based on certain factors.
right,
It's like, you know, who's going to watch, what video are people watching for the longest period of time? What video are people sharing more? What video are people commenting on more, engaging with more? All of these things. And I think what happens is like people have figured that out and it became like they're not like exploiting it because like that's how the algorithm was built. But like for example, like just because somebody watched your video for longer and it has more views doesn't make it necessarily like a more entertaining or more fulfilling video. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yes, absolutely.
So like somebody's video could get 10 million views, but it might be for the wrong reasons. It might be because it's super controversial and like nobody wants to see it, but people watched it for longer for X reason. So I think that's also part of what's happening.
Well, I think that you really see that on like to view ratio if people actually are like getting something from it.
True.
I think that's
True.
actually a good metric for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been interesting to see all that. Are you able to like live off of YouTube revenue yet?
Yeah. So I haven't really had a job for almost 2 years.
Really?
Whoa, it's been 2 years. Yeah. So I worked at Panera Bread for a long time. I also worked at a retirement home for a while until I was almost 19. And then like I lived at home for a while, so I didn't have any expenses. So I didn't really have much income, but also didn't have much expenses.
Right.
And then I mean ad revenue on YouTube long form it's great, obviously, but I don't have a lot of long forms doing well except for my most recent one. And then I have shorts ad revenue, which is bad unless you get a lot of views. And then TikTok ad revenue on the creativity program is really good if you can figure it out. So
Right.
like for those sorts of things, it's been providing me enough income. But as far as moving out, I'm definitely going to be working with brands more. I
Yeah.
just did a brand deal with Powerade on TikTok, which was sick. So I'm
Really?
trying to do yeah, so I'm trying to do more work with brands and also like larger brands, not just like scooter ring brands, which like I would love to work. I honestly haven't worked with any scooter brands except for the Vault, and I don't even like. I just have a code there. I'm not even like it's not even like. I mean, I'm working with them, but like it's just a code. So like
Right.
I don't I haven't worked with like any scootering brands because honestly, it's probably because my content reaches such a wide audience that I'm working with like slightly larger companies.
How do
Um,
you go about getting a brand deal with somebody with like Powerade? Like what do you
yeah,
do?
so like all of what I do, like everything, dude, doing YouTube and social media, like it is a dream job. But like the more cool something gets, also the negatives get harder too. So like there
Right.
are so many hats to wear. Like I'm like a graphic designer. I'm an editor. I'm a manager for myself. So like I do business.
Yeah.
I like and I'm not complaining at all. Like I'm so incredibly grateful for like being able to do this for a living and like having this opportunity. But there's a lot of jobs that you have to do if you don't obviously hire people.
Yeah.
So like, but one of those jobs is being a manager, and so I'm trying to obtain a manager soon, and that's probably going to happen soon. But for the time being, I'm my own manager, and good thing I'm like okay with like business and negotiations, so I'm able to like operate that for a bit. But how you actually go about it is realistically. So you either have a talent agency or like a management agency that
Right.
manages you and just does all of that for you, and then says, "Hey, we got a brand deal with freaking I don't know Dell, and Dell's gonna pay you this to do this," and you're like, "Cool, got it." And then like obviously you agree to it, and then whatever. So like the
Right.
management agency might do that. The benefit of that is that they already have connections to companies, so it's basically all email, some LinkedIn, and some like DMs here and there, but most of the time it's like all on email. So it's like a lot of emailing. So
Yeah.
like, or it's just you doing it. And so like that's where I'm at. I have a few friends that help me with a lot of things like contracts and coming up with email templates and things like that. But like from my side of it, at least for me, it's like I do a lot of outreach. So like I find emails of marketing representatives from companies and I send them an email saying, "Hey, my name's Josh Kreuger. I'm an action sports based content creator with X amount of followers, and I want to work with you for this reason, and here's why it would be good for you to work with me. Looking forward to hearing back." And you just send those to like
Everybody.
every company that you want to work with.
Okay.
Basically, that's how it goes. So that's outreach, and then you also have inbound. So sometimes if you have your business email like on your YouTube channel or like in your bio or in your link tree or whatever,
Right.
companies find that and then they reach out to you, which is usually that happens less than if you outreach yourself. But the Powerade brand deal, they actually emailed me and said, "Hey, we want to do this XYZ video with you." And I said, "Okay, cool." And then we got to negotiating, and then there's a contract, and then you make the video, and then that's that. So that's what that looks like.
Was
Yeah.
that one video for Powerade, or do you have like several that you have to do?
Yeah, so that one was just one TikTok.
Okay.
It depends. Like sometimes a company will say, "Hey, we want to work with you. We want to do a long-term partnership, but for now we're just going to do one video." Sometimes they'll say, "Hey, we just want to do one video." They don't even mention a long-term partnership. Sometimes they say, "Hey, we want to do 3 videos in 4 months, and we want them to be uploaded at this increment."
Yeah.
And then you get 3 videos at like a bulk deal. Sometimes they're like, "Hey, we want to do 2 videos uploaded to all platforms," and then and then you obviously like negotiate and stuff, and advocate for yourself on what you want to do. But
Yeah.
yeah,
What I bet you the running rate changes a lot, but like, do you have any idea like when you're going and like asking for different prices, like what do you think about and like what are those charge, if I can ask?
yeah. So it's really like not a specific rate because every deal is different. So like, let's say a company just wants you to post like product placement. So for example, like what if I just made a short form video and like a soda or like an energy drink is just in the background. Like that would be way cheaper than like if it was like a full on deal sponsorship, and they also want usage rights, so they'll pay extra for like,
You just send all the
you know,
raws and stuff over.
yeah, getting the raws or using my video on their platform. So it's like it's hard to even say like a number,
Yeah.
but it also depends on like what kind of content you make and who your audience is. Like for
Yeah.
me, my audience is fairly broad but also niche at the same time. So like 50% of the people that watch my videos consider themselves action sports athletes. So like that's something to take into account. Some people like Mr. Beast, their audience is so broad. So like sometimes a company, let's say it's like a electric scooter company. Well, I guess maybe not even electric scooter because that would appeal to like everybody. But let's say it was like a ramp, like a company that makes a
Yeah,
ramp.
like Keen ramps or something, for
They
example.
Yeah, like they'd probably have a better time advertising with like 5 action sports creators than they would advertising with like Ryan Trahan or something, because we have a higher population of
Their
people that
customers.
watch our content that would actually buy the product. So it depends, but I'm trying to get more into that, and like setting your rates is one of the hardest things
Right.
because you don't want to like be too greedy, but you also don't want to like the brand to take advantage of you. So
Yeah.
it's definitely
You're like
interesting.
both sides are like, all right, what's your rate? And the other one's like, what do you want? And then like,
Exactly, exactly. Throw the first number,
yeah.
you know?
So they're just waiting for someone to throw the first number and then to see
Exactly.
who can get the better deal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's hard. But what made you make the decision to go out to LA?
Well, so I was in St. Louis.
Yep.
Love St. Louis, but there's a lot of factors for me to be here in LA. I mean, I also like slightly considered like San Diego.
Yep.
So
Where in LA are
the
you?
biggest things, I'm in the valley, so like Van Nuys. It's like so like you have. Let me try to do. So you have LA over here,
Yeah.
then you've got the coast,
Yep.
Santa Monica, and like Long Beach,
Right.
and then there's like the mountains, which is like Hollywood Hills and stuff.
Yep.
Over the mountains is the valley, which is cheaper. So it's
Right.
like north of like all of proper LA. It's slightly cheaper, so that's where I am right now.
Okay.
But why I moved here, there's a lot of things. So like I have a lot of friends here,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of friends, and there's just a lot going on. There's like there's events, there's scootering stuff, there's just more industry for social media and more industry for scootering too in Southern California. So there's more opportunities. And then honestly, one of the biggest things is the weather. Like I don't know how hot it is in St. Louis right now, but
Right.
it's definitely like 90 degrees and humid. I don't want to ride when it's 95 degrees and humid sometimes. Like that's horrible. And I also don't want to ride when it's 5 degrees outside. So it makes a lot of things easier because I don't have to worry about the weather.
Right.
I have a lot of friends here. There's a lot going on. And it's just like it's a beautiful like it's beautiful. Like LA is definitely like very cluttered and dirty. People say it's dirty. San Diego is like way different. If San Diego had as
Yeah.
much industry for social media and I had more friends there, I might have considered it more. But they also have better skate parks. San Diego skate parks are so much better. Like LA skate parks are like they're kind of average. They're
Yeah.
average.
Yeah. No,
I think.
I haven't been to many of the LA skate parks. I've spent most of my time down like San Diego area for the most part.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
Woodward hooked me up with all the contacts that I needed in all of California.
Really?
Oh yeah, when I was at Woodward, I met
Okay.
so many people that like they're all from that Southern California area. So now
Yeah.
like whenever I go down there,
Okay.
like I have some homies place to stay at. So and then everybody else in the
That's
scooter
sick.
industry that I know in the time that I've been like here has moved over to San Diego. So I've seen a lot, or
Yeah.
not San Diego, but just like LA, San Diego area in general.
Southern California.
Yeah, because Sam
Yeah.
Weens
Dude,
moved over there. Jared,
he did?
yeah, Sam Weens is in Burbank.
Oh. Oh, really?
Yeah.
No freaking way, dude. I'm like 20 minutes from Burbank without traffic.
Yeah, yeah, you should hit him.
Dude, I should hit him up.
Yeah, you should
actually.
hit
That's
him
good
up.
to know.
Jared Adelson is down there now.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
don't know if you've been doing
Ian
any
McDonald.
work with Olay, but fucking, I love Jared.
I've talked to him. No work, but like I've messaged him. I haven't seen him in person. But
Yeah,
like, we've messaged
he
him.
is one of the nicest guys I know. He's absolutely amazing. So if you
It
can,
seems like it.
yeah, if you can get in that circle, that's the place to be. But you've
Yeah,
done you've gone everywhere else. I don't know how you haven't met him yet because he hangs out with Tanner, I think, a lot too.
Yeah.
So
I don't even see like the scootering events as much. Like I'm trying to get more into that now that I'm out here because like I'm new to like the fact that there's like something going on with scootering once a month. I'm like, whoa, like that's cool. Like
right,
I didn't have that before. Like Ian McDonald, obviously.
right,
He actually was about to move into the room right next to me
Yeah.
here in this house. And then the opportunity basically like it got messed up. But anyway, he was about to move in here, but I became good friends with him too. And he knows everybody. So
Yeah.
like that was cool.
yeah. Ian's awesome.
He's awesome.
I haven't met him in person actually, surprising enough, but
He's so chill, bro. You should get him on. He would love to do this. Oh
Yeah.
no.
your
My
camera
camera.
die again.
Dude, it says overheated.
Oh no way.
I'm so sorry for the camera difficulties.
Nah, you're good, man. It's
I don't
mostly
know how it
audio
overheated.
anyway. I just have the video just in case I want to do, short form stuff.
Yeah. Dude, that sucks because this has never overheated before. While I'm using it as a webcam at least. It
Oh
only
yeah.
overheats when it's hot outside. Let me see if I can like give this like 2 minutes, put a new battery in it, and then see if that fixes it.
Oh,
I'm
you're
sorry.
good. Yeah, you can just run without one. It's not a big deal unless you have one on your computer or something. But
I have a little one, but I don't even know where it is.
yeah. Have you done any cool stuff since you've been out in LA? Like what's been a fun thing about living there that like you didn't expect?
Yeah, well, I would say that this friend group that I have here, there's always something. So like there's always like somebody's birthday party or like they're going bowling or like something. So like I've built a cool, really cool friend group out here. And we're always doing something, which is good and also bad
Are
because
they all
like
scooter riders or?
honestly no. Like I have honestly most of my life is like within the creator world. Like I scooter and I go to the skate park and I love it and it's great. But it doesn't even necessarily feel like my main thing
You're
for most of the
you're
time.
like a content creator
Um,
first, is?
yeah, like most of it is like content creation and just like the overall creative world, like movies and art and music and stuff like that. Like that's more where I kind of operate.
Yeah,
There, it's back on. Hopefully, it doesn't do that same thing. That's mostly like where I operate, but obviously like I'm still involved in the scootering community. It's kind of like it's two different worlds, man, and it's
right.
like they rarely collide. Like I have one friend that I met through content creation and his name is Owen, and
Yeah,
he is like the only person I met through social media and through like events in social media world that also scooters and knows all the scootering people I know. Like that's like the only instance. So the worlds never collide, which is so interesting.
yeah, that is weird. Cause I've seen. I guess I watched a lot of like skateboard YouTubers growing up and whatnot,
Hmm.
but scootering's never really like. There's been times where it's found that niche and stuff, but it's never really
Yeah,
been there. But what else?
for sure.
What else are you working on? You said music and stuff. Do you make that stuff too?
Wait, real quick. I'm gonna ask you: is it chill? Could I leave my camera off for like 5-10 minutes, let it cool down,
Oh
or do
yeah.
you want me to like?
No.
Okay, sick. Okay.
Yeah, just keep going.
No, I don't make any music. Um, I don't really do any other creative work except for like videos. But the video world, the art world, the music world, it's all interconnected. Like this friend group that I have out here, there's people making music, there's people producing movies, there's people doing camera operation, there's people like,
Yeah.
and so that is like it's like a small world
Right.
in that sense. But I personally only do like video stuff, but like all of it's intriguing to me. Like it's all cool. So
Yeah. Have you ran into much hate?
yeah, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people that like don't. Well, there's
Well, I
like the
assume the Venice
general.
stuff would like. That was kind of the idea.
Yeah, I mean, the goal when we went there was not for hate, but it's not like we go there knowing that people, or sorry, it's not like we go there with the intention of getting hate out of people, because that would just be like,
Right.
that would just be evil.
Yeah.
The goal, obviously, like, but we obviously know that somebody's going to say something, and it's two groups of people that disagree, and like I'm just making content about that disagreement from my perspective.
Right.
So like, but yeah, there's definitely hate. Like, I mean, there's the general group of people hate that are just like, man, scootering's so stupid, bro. Like, why do you even scooter? Just get on a skateboard. But like, that's just like, I don't care about that. But then there's the other side of it where it's like, why do you go to Venice when you know that you're gonna get kicked out or whatever? And like, there's definitely people that are like, or people that completely disagree and think that scootering shouldn't even be there in the first place or shouldn't even be at skate parks and that we should build our own skate parks. Like, that's generally like the most hate that I get in the comments. And like, I can't even really read my comments anymore because it's just like it's upsetting. Like, I don't even really want to look at it.
Yeah. How?
Like, I guess more YouTube Shorts comments, like TikTok comments, Instagram comments, I look at, but YouTube Shorts comments, there's just so much. There's so much of that I just can't even really
Right.
look at it.
Yeah. How do you go about like dealing with that? Because I know back in my channel, that was almost my MO was like, I'm going to get shit on. And that is kind of the funny, like, it's funny to me. I thought it was hilarious, but also like
Yeah.
it really drove retention. Like my most popular video is like 50-50 like or like dislike ratio, which is crazy low.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, and it was a video that I filmed at like my backyard skate park that I had made.
Oh, sick.
And
Okay.
it was just goofy with my friends and we were just messing around, but they're like absolutely just destroying us in the comments. It's hilarious. It's actually really funny because back then, at least more than now, people were creative with their hate comments. So it's like that. It's mean, but I respect the creativity.
Yeah,
But
yeah, like
it's a
exactly. Like
hard thing to
there's
deal with because I think that's why people have a lot of
yeah,
problems with social media and with posting stuff. Is like they're worried about being, like hated on or getting like negative comments, and you can't be that way. Like it's gonna happen.
yeah, yeah. Like I mean, when you first start, a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, that's not going to affect me. I don't care. People can say whatever they want." But then when you start getting like lots of people saying stuff, it can definitely get to you. But then there's also like the other comments that are just flat out stupid, which are funny. Like I love
Yeah.
the ones I love like when I say I don't read my comments, it's more like if I see a negative comment, I just don't really care to like read it. And sometimes I do, and I do get a lot of positive comments. Like I'm making it kind of seem like I get like 80% hate comments, but it's really like 10-20% hate comments on those specific videos that they would want to hate on. But
Right. Well,
like
regardless of what you're doing, you're gonna run into those. Like it's just,
yeah, that's
it's not just scootering.
exactly. And like exactly. And like for example, going to Burnside skate park, that long form video. That one definitely ruffled people's feathers. And like the goal with that video was not to go there and to be an antagonist. That's what every hate comment thinks that I did. They all think that I went there to just be an antagonist. And that's not the case. The case was that I got a bunch of comments about Burnside Skate Park that said, "Go to Burnside. If you think Venice is bad, go to Burnside." Basically is what they said. And I was like, "Okay, let's go to Burnside and like see if it's actually as bad as people say it is." And like I purposefully didn't do too much research beforehand because I wanted to go in there with an objective perspective. And that's why we interviewed people too. I went in there, I didn't even have my scooter, and we interviewed people. And then we rode the park the next day in the morning, and there wasn't even that many people there.
Right.
And then at the end of the video, I addressed, like, for most of it, I was unbiased and objective. And then at the end of it, I actually told their perspective and why they don't want scooter riders there from my perspective. I like switched sides to tell my viewers why their perspective is valid sometimes. And like I still get hate. It's like, bro, just watch this. It's 7 minutes. Just watch the 7 minute video, and you'll understand that I went here. Like I tried my very best to be objective, and I tried my very best to address their perspective at the end of the video and why they don't like scooter riders there. And dude, that was a battle. Like
Yeah.
I am not like whenever I feel like people might take something the wrong way or I feel like I'm going to hurt somebody, that messes with me, and it was never my intention to hurt people. And so when I get comments like that, I'm like, "Oh, dude, like this actually bothers me." Like that's when it bothers me because
Right.
I talked to so many people when producing this video. I hired an editor for that one. Shout out to Arlo for editing it. But when we were editing it, I like went out of my way to make sure that their perspective was heard. And at the end of the day, bro, this is a disagreement about two like sports that like at the end of the day it's a disagreement between two sports, and like there's two sides to every perspective, and like I didn't even have to tell their perspective. I could have just said, "I'm a scooter rider, they like me or they don't like me because of a stereotype about scootering." But I
Yeah.
didn't even say that. I
No.
went in objectively, and then people still get mad. So it's like you cannot avoid hate, bro. It's just you cannot. It's impossible.
Well, it's always been really weird to me because to the general public, it doesn't matter. Like
It
you're
does
doing the
not
same
matter.
thing. You're riding with
Exactly, bro.
wheels.
I could take my bars off. You saw I don't know if you saw me repost Blake's reel the other day,
Yeah.
but it was like he was replying to a comment that was like, "Get a skateboard, bro." And then it was like him taking his bars off while riding, and he was like, "Okay, bet." It's like it's literally, bro, it's wheels and bars. Like the difference that we have is so minimal. We
Yeah.
are all going to the skate. Well, let me turn my camera on for this, bro, because I'm so passionate about this. This is
Yeah.
why I make
I
videos
am
like this,
too.
bro. Like we are all. Hold on. We are literally. We're all doing the same thing, bro.
Yeah.
This is like concrete at a parabola angle, and we're riding something that has a wheel on it. Why do people care that much? It doesn't make any sense. And like we could all be one big happy family. skateboarding, scootering, rollerblading, BMX, and whatever else you want to take to the skate park, as long as you're respectful to other people, you don't get in people's ways, and you take time to learn etiquette and learn like, hey, I'm not here like it's a playground. Like this is a, it's like it's like if you went to a basketball court while people are playing basketball and you just started like kicking a soccer ball and it like started hitting people. Like obviously you're not going to do that, but like nobody said you can't play with a soccer ball on another basketball court. Like why does it matter? It doesn't. So like, oh man, dude, I could go on for ages about this, but like people care so much, bro. It's not that big of a deal. We are on a freaking flying rock in space, dude. Who cares if I have bars or not?
Shit?
Who cares if I can backflip or not? Who cares if I want to do a freaking kickless? And like even within scootering, it's like the whole street and park thing. It's like, who cares, bro? We're on a rock. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want to do, and as long as you're not like being rude to people and interfering with other people, like that's obviously when it crosses the line if it affects somebody else. But like, do your thing, bro. Just take time to learn etiquette and you're good. And the fact that some people think like you shouldn't be here because you have bars is just so crazy to me. Like that makes no sense. And like everybody that doesn't know about skate parks doesn't care.
Yeah.
They don't see a difference. And I'll leave it at that because I know you probably have things to say.
No, man.
Geez,
that's
bro,
you're hitting it all on the head. Because I've always felt the same way. And there are instances where I understand. So wooden skate park indoor doesn't want BMX or doesn't want pegs on BMX because it
and
scars up the ramp
too, right?
Yeah, possibly. Doesn't really matter. Either way, I can understand because it's damaging the equipment. But
yeah, and at that point you're affecting other
skateboarding
people because you're damaging
it,
right?
Scootering and skateboarding, both aluminum, both sliding on the concrete, like it's gonna be okay. Like I promise you.
We're all gonna be good. Like you mind your business, I'll mind mine. Like
it all comes from the fact that most people who go to the skate park for the first time or parents who drop their kids off at a skate park to hang out, they're on scooters. Why? Because it's harder to start riding around on a skateboard. You can't drop into ramps. You can't ride around in circles as easily. You have to start on flat ground and learn how to push and all that stuff, which I understand that. But a lot of people, if you want skateboarding to grow, if you want BMX to grow, if you want scootering to grow, you just want to get people to the skate parks. I'm sorry, but the core skaters, the core scooter riders, and the core BMX people are not at all keeping up the companies. It is the kids that buy 3 scooters or 3 skateboards or one of each. I mean, like, do whatever you want. But for all of us, we should team up and be like, let's just get people to the skate park.
Exactly. I'm so glad you say it that way too, because like it's all kind of like it's a one full circle moment, because we talked about this at the beginning, like why I'm making my content is to like try to like obviously have personal motivation, and I also have motivation because I love scootering. I want to see it grow. Like the scooter sport is like, yes, we have our own little economy going on, and if we kept the same amount of if we kept the same amount of scooter riders for the next 10 years, we probably could keep some companies afloat and sell enough product. But at the end of the day, bro, like you said, it's like the people that are coming into the sport that buy completes and get excited. Like everybody that's watching this that has scootered or even really any passion in general, that first like couple months when you discover that passion, you get all excited. Like I don't know, I bought my first scooter. I built like ramps and ledges. I bought wheels. I did all of this stuff like within the first few months because you're so excited. And like at the end of the day, like that's where most of the money's coming in, is like people that are new. And like it's not even about money, but like if you don't want to see growth in the sport, like whatever, sure. But if you want the sport to grow and you want more events, you want more like pro riders, for example. A huge topic recently is like pro riders aren't getting paid enough, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you want pro riders to get paid enough, we need money that comes into the sport, meaning we most likely need new people coming into the sport, most likely meaning we need more eyeballs on the sport. And there's a few ways to do that, one of which being social media. And that it's the same people that kind of have that opinion of like, and also like, honestly, I'm not even in this conversation enough to like know.
Yeah.
But and correct me if I'm wrong, please do. But it seems like it's the same kind of people who are like, pro riders should be paid enough. And like, why do we not have enough events? And like all of these things. And like, are the same people who also think that like this kind of new content in scootering is cringe.
Oh, well,
it's like, is that true? Because like, that's so contradictory, bro. That makes no sense.
Well, it's really hard.
Maybe I'm wrong. Please.
No, when everything was blowing up, when we were first getting all these new events, when we were first getting all these new sponsors, all these new companies were popping up, we're talking like middle of like 2010 to 2020, the middle of that
Mhm.
section in there, we saw the rise of pretty much every company.
Huge.
And
Yep.
there was been growth since then and then until about right before COVID, it started going down. People started playing
Mhm.
Fortnite, going inside more.
Yep.
COVID hit. Everyone's like, wait, you don't want me to go outside? Okay, I need to go outside. So then everybody buys scooters. And there was a big resurgence during COVID of scooter sales and
Interesting.
all that kind
Okay.
of stuff. Um, and then after COVID, it's kind of been the same thing where people are like, okay, I'm tired. I have to go to work. I have to do all these other things. And I'm forced, like, I have to force to be out in the world again. I want to be inside when I get home. And we're seeing a resurgence of that again. But if we
Yeah.
want scootering to grow, we're going to end up like skateboarding kind of has been if we don't we have to get rid of the core mindset of like this is the way it should be because this is the way I grew up doing it. We need to go into more
Yeah.
of like what works, how do we get new kids excited about the sports.
Yeah.
And if you are a pro rider, like you're going to need to push to kids. It's not just about video parts, it's not just
Yep.
about winning street jams. Like all that stuff is cool.
Which are very important, but there's other things that are important too,
We have to
right?
market. It's a job.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a job, and your job
Yep.
is to grow the sport. And if you don't
Yep.
make enough scooter sales to like justify you being sponsored, like it's just the sponsor game has changed. Like they're looking at people more like you who bring in more, like you're going to bring in way more sales than somebody who's winning a bunch of comps and not like doesn't have a great social media and isn't marketing to kids because
Mhm.
you have companies like Tilt or Ethic or like these luxury scooter brands that
Mhm.
they can market to all the people in scootering because that's like the upgraded part. Like once you get your Envy
Yeah.
or your Mad Gear complete,
And be Lucky Fusion,
yeah, then
like
you're
the
like,
entry
okay,
level.
I need a little bit better scooter because I'm getting tail whips and
Yeah.
I want to learn kicklesses and bries and it's a little heavy, so I'm gonna get
Yeah.
something lighter. So you get a pandemonium,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
um, I think that's really hard for people to grasp because they're like, why can't I just be paid for riding? And I understand
Yeah.
that, and we need bigger sponsors, which is good on you for looking into that. But either somebody else has to bring out a camera and market you to the young people and then you don't have to touch it, or you do it that yourself. And a lot of it is turning to
Yeah.
like you have to
Yeah.
do it yourself.
You put that perfectly, and I think that like I feel like I want to see I'm not up on like what the culture is like in scootering as much as I used to be when I was like really going crazy with scootering and like that was the only thing I did. But like it feels like people are starting to open their eyes to that. But yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, there's always going to be the core people that disagree, which is fine. But you're so right, and like, oh my gosh, why does it keep doing that, dude? No. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, bro. Maybe
No,
I
you're
could even
good.
like join on my phone and do the camera on my phone if you wanted me to. But
I don't worry
I don't
about
know
it.
how crucial the camera
It's
is.
not that
But
crucial. Don't
yeah,
worry about it.
like at the end of the day, you're so right. Like most people like stop scootering or like slightly lose interest in it or don't go to the skate park or street spots as much when they turn 18 or when they turn 22 and they get busy and life gets busy. So at the end of the day, those are the people that aren't buying parts as often for the most part. And so you're right. Like most of the economy most likely comes from the kids who have more time on their hands and have just discovered this passion and are scootering all the time. So like, how do you reach the kids is like, I guess the question that if we want to grow the sport, we need to be asking. And clearly it's social media. So like, yeah. And we saw that, obviously 2015 to 19 or whatever the time period was with all the YouTube people that we already talked about. But like, YouTube's changed, social media's changed, and somebody has to figure out how the new social media era works and apply it to scootering.
Yeah.
And like I guess that's what I'm doing. Like I didn't really do that like purposefully. Like I wasn't like 2 years ago I was like, "All right, I'm going to figure out all these these methods, and then I'm gonna come back and apply it to scootering and be the king of it. Like I never even thought like that. I just kind of ended up here, and I like it. Like I like being able to play a part in growing the sport, and like there's gonna be, I hope at least that there's gonna be so many more people that start doing content and we see some sort of resurgence. And like
Yeah.
honestly, it gets me freaking excited, bro, because I'm like I start seeing like I mean there's lots of trends. Like right now it's like Instagram reels with text on it and it's like, whatever, and like which is like, some people think that's cringe too, which is fine. Think whatever you want to think, but like if content's doing well, we're probably selling one more scooter than we did the day before. And so that's great,
It's
and like I really think that we're gonna get more people in. I mean, like as you probably know, like I'm good friends with Mark
Yep.
and I'm good friends with Blake and a few other people that do scootering content, and like they both and everybody else does their content in their own way. But it's just like so cool to see that like we are getting closer and closer to like being sustainable and creating content for scootering. And so the more that it becomes sustainable and the more people can make it their job to support scootering or do content, the longer the lifespan and the more people pick up scooters, I think.
yeah. Yeah, again, I'm just
Like you said, it's a job.
yeah, just circling back to what I said earlier, as far as like it's hard to see that you're not the target audience, and I think that's why there's this big divide in scootering, and they're like, you can't count on the people who brought scootering up to continue scootering. We're at this point now where the people who grew scootering 10 years ago are phasing out of scootering, and that's the
Yeah.
natural progression of things. Like that's
It's
going
it's
to
hard
happen, but we need the
it's
next
hard to think
generation.
about. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna see if I can turn this back on. But yeah, like that's the natural. It's a natural progression, and it happens in anything. Like, I really do wish that like Cody Flom and like Raymond Warner and like, I mean, Raymond Warner still makes content. They all still scooters still make content, but like, part of me still is like, dang, I miss what it was like 7 years ago. It
Yeah.
just felt so fresh and so new, and like so just cool to be. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like as much as I want to be like, yeah,
Well,
I
it's like
want those
that
people to
indie
be on
music
top of the
thing.
game right now.
You know how
What's
like
up?
did you listen to Hippocampus? Have you listened
Did I
to their
listen
music?
to them? I mean, I've heard some of their
Well,
music.
like I like 4 or 5 years ago. Like you're listening to Hippocampus and you're listening to like Camp and all this other stuff, and you're like, I listen to underground music. This is like I'm so
Yeah,
unique. Like look at me being this little like granola girl, like like all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And then YouTube or like Spotify Wrapped comes out and they're like number 2 on most listened to, and you're like, well, I guess I'm every other bitch. So it's kind of like that in
exactly.
scootering. Like we had that time where
Yeah,
you're like, I'm so unique. Like I am in this really niche community that we're all like super nice to each other and we're all trying to grow this sport. And we're kind of getting to that
yeah,
point where like, okay, there's quite a few people who do this, and it's getting to that level of like, it's really hard to be like to see yourself being the best, because it's the barrier of being like, one, you don't really see how there could be a job. Somebody has to create like the Nyjah or the Tony Hawk. Like somebody needs to create that thing that kids can shoot for. But I'm seeing this in
yeah,
motocross too, because I know like Jared McNeil and Axel Hodges, and I did like a show with them, and I was talking to them about this because it's not just any one industry. They're dealing with it too, and they're seeing that in FMX. It's like a lot of kids aren't wanting to get into it, and a lot of kids also expect double backflips and crazy stuff that like is life, like
yeah,
death defying stunts at that point. And you can't do
yeah,
that every show of Nitro Circus, right? So it's like they're like the barrier, like we're not getting paid that much and we're putting our life on the line every time we pick up our bike. And
exactly.
it's so hard to see like younger people being able to come in and like grow the sport and add new tricks and do world's firsts, because it's like the barrier to even start doing that kind of stuff is so high.
Yeah, yeah. I
Whereas
mean,
when I started, it's like
it's
a buttercup was like a super expert scooter
yeah,
trick.
yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, I'm not. I don't know, when did you start scootering?
Like
Because I haven't been around as long as you.
2013, 2014.
Yeah. So I was a little later than you, so it's slightly different. But like I came in 2016, and like I would go to the skate park, and I'm like, I mean, he's now my friend, but like shout out Sam Morris from St. Louis. Like I would go to the skate park, and I would see Sam do like he would do a truck driver, and I'd be like, did this dude just do a truck driver? I'm like, I only see truck drivers on YouTube. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is freaking sick. Or like a finger whip, or like a bra. Especially being from like Missouri, like if you're in like San Diego and you're like your local is like Claremont, you're used to like people doing insane stuff every single day. But like if you're from like a relatively smaller city or like a place where scootering is like isn't as big
Right.
and you see these tricks, you're like, holy cow, like that's crazy. And I do agree that like I think that's also part of what social media has done is like it maybe it's done some negatives in like showing everybody like how good people are, and maybe that like turns people off like, oh, I'll never get that good or something like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Maybe that's true. I don't know. I wouldn't know, but
Well, I think that's definitely true is because I see stuff on social media and I see some, like 10-year-old doing like quad whip double backflip. And I'm like, well, I'm
yeah.
washed. Like no way in hell am I ever doing that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but it's also like they look up to those kids who are doing that stuff still look up to the people who are older in the sport that may not be as technically like skilled as they are, but they still like look up to them. And you have to remember that.
Yeah,
But I remember
for
when I
sure.
started scootering, there was 3 other kids because I'm from Rapid City, South Dakota, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Like there was none of this stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
You know it better than anybody then.
yeah, so I went to the skate park for the first time, and we had a lot of scooter hate at our skate park for sure. But there was 3
Hmm.
other kids that I knew of. I went there with my little Razor Black label, with a little green clamp, and yeah, the
Hmm.
shin killer is like it was like angled on the sides. So then it was
The
like
angle,
basically a
yeah.
razor edge when you try to do tail whips. I didn't learn tail whips on that, thank God. But um, I went to the skate park with that, and there was these 3 other kids, Matt, Eric, and I think his name's Brian. But I became friends with him later. But he did like a 540 whip out of this like 4-foot quarter, and I could
Yep.
not believe my eyes. I like mind blown. Didn't know this was a thing. Went home, looked up like professional scooter riding. Didn't think it was real,
Dude,
and yeah,
bro, that's kind of it was kind of like that for me. So like it was September 22nd, 2016 when I first went to the skate park with a scooter. My friend from down the street, his name was Alden.
yeah,
We used to ride our razors around, and at the time I didn't really know scootering was a sport, but like I we would like ride up our neighbor's driveway and try to get a 180 on our razors, and
right.
we never got a full 180, but like we used to do that. We used to ride around all the time. He would do manuals, and then like one time we went to my local indoor skate park, which is called Ramp Riders. By the way, if you go to St. Louis, go to Ramp Riders. It is such a unique big park.
Oh yeah,
But
okay,
anyway, yeah, so like we went there and I rode my razor around these ramps, and I was definitely like the little razor snake kid, but there wasn't that many people there, so it didn't matter. But at that time I was like, holy cow. And then I went back the next day again, and then I met this kid at my middle school he was a street rider, and he became a good friend of mine. And like then he would like come over, and I remember we watched like Raymond Warner's Welcome to Envy edit from like 20, I guess it was 15 or 16.
yep,
We watched that, and I started like watching Raymond Warner. He was like probably my most watched scootering YouTuber when I was a kid. But like I started watching that, and I was like, holy cow, like this is a thing. I'm gonna keep going. And then I bought a Fasten Raven Complete a month later, and like just started learning stuff.
yeah. When I started scootering, like vlogs weren't even a thing. But I say I started scootering, like I have pictures and videos of like I have been on a scooter since I can remember, or before I can remember. I was like 2 or 3 years old
Yeah,
riding scooters around
yeah,
Winter Park. Like I was actually at the opening day of Winter Park Skate Park, and there was like I went there with my
what's
dad. I was
that?
on a trip doing like BMX stuff, and there was this kid there with an
Mm.
extra Razor scooter. So I asked him if I could ride it. So then I was riding my Razor scooter opening day of Winter Park Skate Park.
Yeah,
But
I think we all definitely like rode it, but it wasn't like I think starting scootering probably constitutes like you know when did you actually start thinking about like progressing and like learning tricks?
I
Probably,
count the first day that I
don't you think?
landed a tail whip as my first day of scootering.
Really, your first day of scootering, dude? It took me a long time to learn a tail
I
whip,
know it
bro.
took me
I used
probably
to.
a year or plus, but
Yeah, it took me like 8 months. I still count the first day I went to the skate park and started considering that I wanted to like learn tricks. That was like my
Right.
first day, but I guess that's different for everybody.
Yeah. So, because I was doing 180s and like 360s and all that kind of stuff like really young, but I was like trying to learn it so that
Yeah,
I could do it on my bike because I was all about biking, or I skated for the longest time. But
yeah.
yeah, it was like when I 2014, because that's when I landed my first tail whip. It was like March maybe. Outside, I made a little box. Like I had already like skate ramps in my driveway. I was actually a couple times in my
Hmm.
childhood because my dad built. He was a skateboarder, so he like had
Oh,
we had
sick.
like a 6 foot quarter pipe in our driveway and go back and forth. We had a nice
That's
big
sick.
driveway area, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of been that forever. But I like your perspective as being more of a content creator and like thinking about that first. Um, what like what are things that you kind of like live by? Switching gears completely, like what are like philosophies and stuff that you think about and like attack your day or your life with?
Just like in general life stuff.
Yeah, because you talk about like
Oh,
we live on
okay.
a big rock, so nothing really matters, which is kind of stoic,
Yeah,
wisdom type
it's
stuff.
definitely yeah, I mean, um I'm a very deep person. Like I think about things deeply and a lot of times it gets in the way and I'm very like I try to be very empathetic in things. So those are some big things that like I guess or I guess are how I work in a way. But one thing I have a lot of quotes that I like. Like one on my wall or on my whiteboard here is like, "Don't take life too seriously." I think we all take everything too seriously, and it's like, you've got time. Like, chill out. Like, not every decision is going to be an end all be all. But more over anything is, I believe, like perspective is like the most. I think it's like everything. Perspective is everything. Like at the end of the day, hold on, sorry. At the end of the day, like the only thing that really exists is like your perspective and how you see things. Because like I mean, obviously, other people exist, other people's perspectives exist. That's obviously extremely important. But like at the end of the day, if you look at things in a pessimistic way, your world is going to be very pessimistic. If you look at things optimistically and like you're grateful for your life, you're probably going to be more happy, and that's how you're going to see the world. So I think that like perspective is everything. Um, just like how you see it is how it is. Like if you wake up, like that's why you see people that are. Oh my gosh, why does it do this to me? Anyway, that's why you see people that have nothing, or like maybe they're really poor, or maybe like their family is sick in the hospital and they're still really happy because they have a optimistic perspective or they're grateful for what they already have. And that's why you also see people that are um like they have millions of dollars and they've done everything in life that anybody ever dreams of doing, and they have a great family but they're depressed and they're sad, and like that all I think most of the time boils down to your perspective and how you see it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like I don't know, that's one thing. It's like it's
That
never easy to like take that into account and actually change your perspective. It's very difficult, but like I think perspective is everything.
well, that's to add to what you said because I think you hit it on the head. Absolutely, I completely agree with what you said. I saw a really
Yeah.
interesting thing the other day where I saw this graph, right? And it showed like money on the bottom and like happiness on the side. And it had
Mhm.
where your happiness starts. Because it's like a happy person with more money will be happier because like they're already at this baseline. But if you're
Yeah.
already miserable and then you get more money, you're just going to be like a little bit less miserable, but you're still going to be miserable because it's all like how
Yeah.
much you like where you start. Like if you're not happy with nothing, you're not going to be happy with money. Is kind of what it was saying.
Yeah.
Um
100%.
and in the same way, it's like the worst thing that's happened to you is the worst thing that's happened to you. And that's the perspective thing. It's like if you've seen terrible atrocities and death and all this like really sad, really terrible stuff, then when you're like having a normal everyday type day and some minor inconvenience happens, you're like, whatever. Like, This is nothing
Yep.
compared to what I've been through.
Yeah.
And if if the worst thing that's happened to you is you got like a C on a paper once in school, like every little thing is going to really like be a big deal to you. And
Yeah.
not
For
saying
sure.
that people need to go through hard things, but I think that there is something to be said for the fact that when hard things happen, it gives you perspective and shows you that, you know, me being late to this thing isn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's like it's hard to keep that in mind. Like
Yeah.
especially when you get caught up in life things. Like it's also like everything's relative. You know,
Mm,
like somebody might be really upset about something, but that's only relative to them because they don't see it a different way. I don't know. Like it's really hard to be well rounded
yeah.
in that sense, but it's something to keep in mind, especially for people that are struggling or that are, you know, wondering why they're feeling a way that they're feeling. It's definitely a lot of times has to do with perspective, or maybe it's something else, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said for actual, you know, chemical imbalances in the brain if you're not.
Yes, yeah,
But
I was gonna say like there's
like depression is real,
chemical things
guys,
in your
but
brain. It's yeah, it's oh yeah,
very
like
real.
it's totally real. Like I've had my own battles actually, like in the
Yeah.
past, and like it's not easy. Like it's never easy. Nothing's ever freaking easy, and like it's not always perspective. But you know, a lot of times a perspective shift can really impact
Yeah.
not necessarily people that are like going through the most horrible things in their life, but like day to day stuff, or like maybe it's your career that you're stressed out about or whatever. It perspective can definitely help.
I have one more question for you. What?
Yeah, let me try to get this camera back on real quick, too, just in case. Let's see here. Dude, I don't know why it's overheating. It never has done this. I've had this camera on as a webcam for hours and it's never done that. So,
That's interesting.
anyway,
But
all right.
do you think there's free will? Do you believe in free will?
Oh man, we're getting
We're
really
getting really
deep.
deep.
Oh man.
You opened a can of worms when you
Oh,
said you'd think deep about things because I really enjoy that stuff.
yeah. Yeah, dude.
Me and
I
Ryan just
mean,
talk about this stuff for like hours.
dude, I think okay. So like I'm not religious necessarily. I didn't really grow up religious. I've definitely been exploring religion because I think anybody should like explore what they think they should believe in. Um,
That's
but when
healthy.
it comes to like free will, yeah, when it comes to free will, I mean, dude, I might get super deep for a second. It's like, okay, from our again, it's perspective. Like from our perspective, it's free will. Like I could move my hand up and down right now, and I also could have not moved my hand up and down right now. That, from our perspective, I think is free will. But like, possibly if you think about it, like if the let's just hypothetically say like the Big Bang Theory is like I don't know the theory, right?
Right.
Let's just say that that's what you believe in. If you believe in that, then it kind of makes sense to say like, hey, if all these atoms were in one point at the same exact time and they blew up in this exact kind of way, wasn't everything kind of already destined to be that way? Because it kind of like started and it's kind of just like a natural. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if that's what you believe in, you might say free will isn't real because like almost like if it started that way, it was destined to happen this way because there's only one way it could have happened. But also like I'm not good at explaining
I
this
think
either. But also like it might that probably doesn't matter because like from our perspective, it is free will.
yeah.
And there's no way of knowing. There's never going to be a way of knowing.
Well,
So
the interesting thing, it's like the whole brain in the vat conversation too. It's like, well, you can't really prove anything. But I
yeah,
think when you look back on what's happened, it feels determined. But if you're looking forward at what could happen, it's free will.
that's a really good way of putting it. And also, like to be fair, 200 years ago, the upcoming 200 years, you're not able to know. It looks like free will, but now it looks predetermined. That's so interesting, huh?
Yeah, like cuz it didn't happen a different way. It could have possibly, but it didn't. So it seems
Yeah,
like it's predetermined because that's the way it happened. But looking forward, it's like, oh, we have all these choices and they can change our future. But then the future will come and we'll be like, oh, well, that was always meant to happen.
It's a paradox.
It is very paradoxical. But as far as the Big Bang thing that you talked about, they are discovering. So with James Webb, they're looking out at the microwave background, right? And they're looking at these galaxies that they've never seen before. And they're like, that's not supposed to fucking be there. Because if the Big Bang was real and the timeline that they think it was, there's no possible way those galaxies could be where they're at.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. What is that? You said James Webb?
James Webb Telescope is the new like telescope out in like that replaced Hubble basically. And they're, from what I've heard, I guess I haven't done too much extensive research, so I could be bullshitting, but I did hear that they are finding things out past what they knew existed, new galaxies that they're like, if the Big Bang is where we thought it was and it happened as long ago as we thought it was, these galaxies truly shouldn't exist because they're too old. Like they're too far away and they're too old and they're too bright. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like,
interesting.
We want this idea of like things happened because this timeline of like birth and death is so like human. But
yeah,
is it scarier? Like it's scarier to think that like it's always been there.
Oh yeah,
like, that's
and honestly,
doesn't make any sense.
This is like a very like unproductive way to look at it, but I've watched some like, okay, there it goes again. I've watched some like YouTube videos about this, I think.
Yeah.
But there is no freaking way for us to know anything. Like we are just humans. There's no way for us to like send a freaking send a probe out in space and learn things. Like, how do we know that's real? We just simply don't. How do I know that you're real? I don't. Like, there's no freaking way. And so for me, and like, I think I'm going to come to a conclusion about my life and my perspective, but I believe that like right now, since that's the case, since like there's no way of us knowing if anything's even real or what is real, and that we like realistically, what is real is what you believe and what your like, again, perspective. Like, what is your perspective? What do you believe? And if you believe in that, then that's true, because there's no other way for you to prove that there's anything except for your perspective and your consciousness, like physically prove. And so therefore, I think like everybody's perspective for what they believe like the meaning of life is or where everything came from is true for them. Like, I guess in that perspective, like the Big Bang Theory could be real, but also it could be a simulation, but also it could be religious.
Yeah.
But that's like, don't just take everything. Whoever's watching this still like take that with a grain of salt. I don't even have any clue what I'm talking about, but it's definitely something to think
but
about.
nobody has any fucking clue what they're talking about. That's where we're at.
Yeah, we don't. Exactly.
We are in the space. When you get to this kind of thought games, like nobody knows. We've never known. And religion, I think, exists for one of the purposes of answering the questions that we don't know the answer to, because it's uncomfortable for us not to know. Like humans have a hard time not like saying, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to that. They're just like, exactly. God made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's way easier to explain that than to be like, I have no idea why there's lights in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I got up to change my fan. I mean, like, you know, I think anything could be right, bro. And I don't know when I'm going to come to a conclusion about that. I'd like to, but I'm in no rush, really.
Yeah, I don't think there is a conclusion to come to. There's so many things like that when you start learning more that you're like, yeah, that's probably bullshit. We don't know. Like the things that I've been taught, we don't really know. Like, is Atlantis real? It could be, it could not be. Why are the pyramids there?
Yeah.
We don't fucking know. We really just truly don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think the more we find out, the more we realize we don't know.
Yeah, that's, I mean, really off topic of what we're talking about, but
oh yeah, for sure.
I love
whoever's still watching, leave a comment down below.
Yeah, exactly. If you've made it this far, like, shout out. But
yeah, for real.
All right, well, I will probably close it off there. You have it. Where can we
For sure. Yeah.
find your
Perfect
social
timing.
media? Where can we follow you?
Yeah, so all of my stuff is at Josh Kreuger. It's JoshKreuger. It's spelled kind of weird, but just make sure you spell it right. Instagram is Josh Krugs
Yeah.
with a Z, but unfortunately, I have been trying to get the Josh Kreuger username since I was in 5th grade, and somebody that has an inactive account and no followers has that. So maybe I'll never be Josh Kreuger. Maybe I'll always be Josh Kreuger. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm on everything. I only really post on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok though.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thank you for taking your time
Heck
out of your
yeah.
day to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Of course.
So,
Of course. And thank you for hosting this.
of
And
course.
if you guys have not yet freaking subscribed to this guy, please do. I think what you're doing is fantastic. And we need these conversations,
Yeah.
especially in scootering.
A
So
little bit more
what you're
insightful.
doing is exactly what you're doing is great work. So keep it up.
Oh,
And
thank you.
thanks for having me, bro.
Of
I
course.
actually like genuinely this was awesome. This was really cool.
All right. Well,
So
yeah. See you guys in the next one. Thank you.